Welcome to Home Business TV. Welcome to the Home Business Podcast. I'm Richard Captain Anderson, your host. We love business startups, and there's few startup options better than becoming a franchise owner. Most franchises can be operated home-based. To help us learn more about franchising, we are joined today by Ryan Parsons, CEO of Evive Brands. Ryan Parsons, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing fantastic, and thanks so much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. So the podcast didn't end up on your calendar today. I'm impressed the way you put this together. Within like a couple of minutes, you found a hot spot there and are rolling away.
Let's do it.
Cool. Yeah, it's part of being home based. You got to be flexible. So thanks for joining in. Where are you calling in from?
Patterson, New York.
Oh, okay. Cool. I thought for some reason I thought you were calling in from Arizona.
No, I mean that's where the Evive is based, but you know, in
Oh,
the
okay.
world we can work anywhere.
That's it. We're all virtual corporations now. Well, Ryan is leading Evive Brands that helps franchises with the tools and support needed to unlock their growth potential. He's well positioned to give us some cutting edge perspectives on how you can unlock potential as a franchisee. First, let's get to know you better. Ryan, how did you end up as CEO of a company in the franchise business sector?
All right, I'll give you the shortest version possible, but my brother and I actually started and founded a gutter company known as the Brothers That Just Do Gutters in 1999, and we worked and built it up, and then we ended up franchising that business in 2015. And as of today, there's over 110 or 20 franchisees in that system. And then we partnered with Riverside, which gave me the opportunity to become the CEO of Evive Brands, which the Brothers That Just Do Gutters is part of, as well as three other brands, Assisted Living Locators, Executive Home Care, and Grayson's Estate Sales.
So you've gotten your hands dirty as a franchisor.
Super dirty.
You've been down in the trenches. I think that's the best way to do it. But let's discuss the potential of the franchise market. Why do you believe franchising has so much potential today?
I just love franchising because it really shortcuts the journey for people that have always wanted to own their business but never pulled the trigger. We were lucky enough to be in our early 20s when we decided that we might want to go out on our own and start a business. And it literally took us over 10 years just to figure it out. A lot of people that are looking to, become a business owner, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s sometimes, and they just don't have that runway to spend 10 or 15 years trying to figure something out. Franchising literally not only gives you a shortcut, it proves it inside what you call the FDD. And it's like, here are the numbers, here's what's published, and here's what you can expect in your first, second, third year if you follow that system. So it's powerful.
Yeah, I think, one thing about franchising, it provides that structure. It's been in the trenches. It knows how to, get you up to speed as quickly as possible. Now, the counter to that is, you pay franchise fees and there's a cost of entry. But I think time-wise, putting time, the amount of time you're spending, it's a huge payback having a company lay out to you how to achieve success in that business model.
Oh, absolutely. When you're starting a new company, I mean, you got to come up with the name, the branding, the website. You have to build it all. And what you're typically paying a franchisor for the privilege of being a franchisee, call it 10% plus or minus two, right? And if you're thinking about a franchise that does $1 million a year, you're getting a partner that does everything for like 100 grand, right? So that's how I think about it. That when you're doing a franchise, you just found the most capable partner that you could possibly get to help you build and scale. And most people that don't own a franchise, I'll pick on the gutters. Most owner operators in the gutter industry do about $250,000 to $300,000 a year in revenue. As a franchisee, they're doing just under $1 million in their first full year in business and beyond. So talk about like, all right, do you want to keep all of 300 or do you want to share part of a million or more. So that's typically how it should work out when you're looking to purchase a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, it's that business model and being up and operational and showing you how to be successful, particularly as you're getting older and time's not so for all the trials and error of starting up a business. It's a good option to go in. It's also important to note the potential for franchises to operate as home based. Many franchises provide services at a client's location, such as the franchise you deal with, and can be operated home based. Do you have any thoughts on the home based aspect of the franchise market?
I love that option. I mean, I think there's both are great depending on what you're doing, but how cool for a lot of the brands in Evive, you can run this from home. You don't have to have a brick and mortar store with a big lease and all this stuff, that you can actually get up and running from your home, and the clients don't know the difference. And actually in this world, no one cares anymore. It's not out of
Right.
character to have a kid run behind the screen, which could happen any minute here. Anymore. So it doesn't necessarily lower the level of professionalism by having a home-based business, and that can cut out so much expense.
Yes, they say like nobody cares anymore where the business is operated from. It used to be like, where's your storefront? Even if you're operating a service-based franchise that goes all over the place, they'd expect you to be at some location where you park the truck and this and that. Now, I mean, you drive around and it's kind of funny. You'll see a franchise service vehicle at somebody's house,
Oh
and
yeah.
they park it there at night, and they operate home based and it works.
Yeah.
Rowan, what are some key strategies for working with a franchising company for starting up a franchise?
So you're talking about somebody who has a business and they want to franchise it. What's
Or just getting in it, just to starting up a franchise.
so if you want to start a franchise from scratch,
Or just, coming into, buying into a franchise that,
buying into a franchise,
yeah.
man. Um, what's great is working with a consultant, right? There's a lot of stuff out there, but a consultant has seen what works, what doesn't work. They typically have their 5 or 7 pet franchises, and they'll help you through like an interview process, right? There's a lot of different ways, and most people just think fast food. Well, franchising is fast food. It's amazing what has been franchised. I mean, there's like eyelash franchises. There's, anything that you can think of, there's a franchise. So a lot of times it's just trying to figure out what it might not be what you think you would love. Nobody wakes up and says, "Oh, I want to, be a gutter franchise or this or that or the other thing." But what's really cool is as you get to learn about them, you can see, wow, that really resonates with me. I love what this does for the client. When you're thinking about, executive home care and assisted living locators, people have a heart for the elderly. They most of them had a bad experience trying to watching their parents age in place, and they're like, man, there's got to be a better way, and they buy a franchise because they want to make a difference. So good way to start is just poke around and see what interests you, and then reach out.
So what I'm kind of picking out here, it's important to start up something that you're interested in. I mean, I think a lot of people go into a franchise and they get overly focused on the income potential and trying to recover the investment on their franchising fees. But I think in the long run, there's no sugarcoating it. There's going to be a lot of work. You've got to do something that you enjoy doing or have a previous interest in.
Yeah, and that's what's really cool about any franchise. They should have a pretty nice process from calling up, making sure you're qualified. Nobody really wants to spend time with you if you're like, hey, I got $1,000. What could we do? But if you've got, the money and the qualification, they'll take you down a path, and you can really picture what it would be like to be a franchisee, and you can talk to franchisees and see what their experience is like.
Do you have any like other additional like entry strategies to launching successfully a new franchise? Any other points?
Yeah. Uh, Shoot, my mind just went in 1,000 different directions.
Well, we've got the time.
Make sure you're well capitalized. If you're just sneaking in to a franchise, as much as you're buying into a franchise, some things don't always work out perfect. Those first couple hires might not work out. You might not be able to find that space that you need. So making sure that you have the money, that you don't have to have such a short leash for success. Some people get into franchise and go, well, I can go 2 months without a paycheck, and then I need to be making X, Y, Z. Well, there are some franchises that might be able to provide that for you. But for the most part, that first 6 months is like a kick in the face learning curve. You're learning, you're doing, you're getting used to something that you've never done. So I would say making sure that you definitely have that you're well capitalized and you're all in. I
Yeah, let's
love
talk a little bit about all in. And you brought a point about those first 6 months are going to be kind of a kick in the face. You've got to be prepared to do that franchise work yourself and get your hands dirty if it's carpet cleaning or gutters. Even if you're planning to get 10 trucks and run it as the boss, you've got to start off getting in there in the trenches and knowing how it works.
Absolutely. Our most successful franchisees want to know how to do the books. They want to know how to install a gutter. They want to know how to knock on a door for assisted living or how to do an estate sale. They need to know, they don't have to be doing it all, but you know what? You want to be able to fill in a gap if you have to. If you've got to go hop on and do part of the work, you can do it. So that's not why you buy a franchise, is to do the work. You buy a franchise so that you can build something that either is or can become semi-passive. Most people buy a franchise because they want both time and money. Most people have one or the other. If they've got time, they don't have money. If they don't have money, if they have money,
Right.
they don't have time, right? So owning a business, that's what we all want. We want something that can produce income, whether we're there or not, eventually.
Right. And one thing you talk about, Ryan, is the plug and play franchises. What are some of the benefits of a plug and play to a home-based entrepreneur?
Exactly that. I mean, you're following a system and getting expected results, right? So it's awesome. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. You still have to go hire people in most franchises. You still have to go and market and do things. There's no such thing as like, here's my money, and it's, starts making you a return. There is work to be done, but it is proven, and a good franchisor is always improving it too.
Oh, so I kind of understand what it is now. I didn't first admit. So it's the fact that the franchising company is providing a roadmap, and that's where the plug and play comes in, that you can kind of plug in, and that
Yeah.
greatly speeds up the build-up time on your
There's
business.
a common saying in franchising, it's turnkey, right? But you have to turn
Turnkey.
that key every day, right? It's a turnkey business, but you turn that key every day.
Right. You know, let's kind of look at maybe empowering franchises for growth, which is, one of the things that you do. What are some tools to unlock growth potential as a franchise? I know there's a lot of things you could go into, but any key points in particular come to mind?
Oh yeah. So when you're buying into a franchise, they've got the marketing figured out. They know the target audience. They know what channels work, how to strategize and do that. So you're getting the biggest bang for your buck so that you can get new clients through the door. You're getting sales training. So you're literally getting everything that would take 10, 15, 20 years to develop on your own. You're getting that before you place your first person, have your first estate sale, first gutter. You look like a company and have the support of somebody who's been doing it for 20 years. So that's a huge advantage.
And I imagine like working with the home office, working with, the master franchisor, that's got to be an integral part too, particularly when you're starting up and working out the kinks. Any thoughts about how to improve this aspect of that?
So that's another benefit is when you've got the corporate team, but then you've got franchisees, you have your peers. So when you see somebody like, man, how are you doing $1 million? You've only been at this for X amount of time. You're able to network. There's peer groups. There's all these different things that you have access to as a franchisee to help do that. And on top of that, a good franchise is going to help you with your numbers, your budget. Here's my ramp. Hey, I want to do $1 million in my first 2 years. Great. Well, let's start with the first month. This is
Mhm.
your budget. This is your actual. Again, they're working on that with you to align with your goals. So you're getting high-level business consulting day one.
I think some franchises in some cases can even unlock, they might not give you the money, but they can unlock lines of credit or access to the funding you need for business startup because, typically you're running at a loss getting started. And so I understand most franchises offer access to financial support to get over those humps.
Absolutely. And once you're a SBA approved franchise and the people that do those types of deals, they see some success, it's a very fast approval process. Again, based on your income, based on your ability to pay that back and the track record of the franchise. So absolutely.
Yeah. So Ryan, you note the importance of vendor partnerships, providing franchises with valuable resources that enhance operational efficiency and profitability. Any comments on these the importance of vendor partnerships in your
Oh, it's
franchising?
huge. It's huge. I mean, just think of like the software that you run your business on, having that vendor partner, someone to help onboard you, train you. And the bigger that we get as a franchise and as Evive Brands, the more we can leverage that for discount pricing. Not only can you get some great access to software, distribution, materials, marketing, the vendors are now happily participating and training you on all that. So the value that we can provide as we scale is well beyond anything that you could do on your own as a solo entrepreneur.
So I want to pick out a key point you mentioned there on you working with your vendors. They actually become, kind of consultants or advisors or teachers in your business because they're providing something to your business and you need to learn about it. And so vendors can also not only be providing a service, but they're teaching you to get up to speed in an established business model.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to imagine, before we were a franchise and you're just one location, you're calling up trying to get help on something. They might answer the phone. But when you have 150 or 700 or, 4 or 5 brands, you can imagine the stuff that a vendor's willing to do, sponsoring conference, hopping on webinars, training, send your employees to them for free. So you gain a lot from those vendor
You're
relationships.
getting kind of a synergy of everybody that's in your business, and they're bringing, the franchise is bringing them together to give you more clout than you'd have just operating on your own.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
As one becomes successful in a franchise, what potential is there to scale, from a single operation to multiple franchise units? I think we've hit a lot of these points that kind of the way I look at this is that it's easier to get success. You have a established business model, so then it's easier to scale up to multiple franchise units. And it seems like that's a common way that franchises grow.
Absolutely. So you might start out, you can only afford one territory. That's all that makes sense. So you buy one territory and you start developing it, and then you start having success, and you're like, hey, I want to buy a second or a third or a fourth. So that's really a great way to scale. Another great way to scale is by becoming a multi-brand owner. We're seeing a lot of people start to buy another brand in the Evive portfolio. They've built up their business. They've maybe not saturated their area, but they have a lot of bandwidth to do more. And now you own, an EHC and an ALL or an ALL and a Grayson's. So we're starting to see people become multi-brand owners.
So is this where the different franchises have some sort of a relationship between them that makes kind of an initial connection to, to diversify into that other franchise?
So that's the whole point of Evive Brands, is that we're a portfolio of brands from the time someone buys their first home to the time they've got to leave their home and go to assisted living. We want to have a brand that can serve them. And
lifetime franchisor.
Lifetime franchisor. And for a franchisee, how cool that as we build out the service side and as we build out the health side, they can have 2 complementary businesses that funnel leads back and forth. It's really powerful.
So this is what you're talking about when you talk about cross-brand collaboration and what, with Evive Brands, that you're, creating branding opportunities to empower franchises to achieve expanded revenue streams. What I guess I'm seeing is that it just seems like, particularly with the internet age, branding is just becoming more important. Getting a common brand, particularly maybe with social media, the internet, online, but having a common brand link different things together.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing it all over the place. We might not know it, but I mean, just look at Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, they co-brand with Baskin Robbins now. We're seeing a lot of them in the same building, right? We
Mhm.
see it, Angie's List. They're trying to get everyone to go to Angie rather than looking for a plumber, an electrician, or this separately. They're trying to bring people to them. I'd rather them not go to them. I'd rather them come directly to us. But so you are seeing there is a battle for the household. There is a battle for people to go to one source, and hopefully that you can get multiple things there.
So not only does the brand like a way of marketing, linking it together, but it's also a more efficient way of doing business for customers to work where they can deal with one company and then have multiple
Yeah.
services provided.
Well, you got to think about it. How cool! I mean, imagine we had 5 service brands, and one of them got you as a client. Now the rest of them have
Right.
access to you. We can now advertise, hey, how about getting your windows washed? Or how about this service? You just cleaned your gutters. So that is the power of stretching our franchisees' marketing dollars across multiple brands and keeping Richard as a client of Evive Brands.
Right. I think it opens up a lot of ways to market. It
Heck,
used to be like one way of marketing or sending something in the mail. Now, you can market through social media or through texting, and you get client contact information, and you kind of seamlessly and quietly can market like that. And I think that would grow when you're doing cross brands also.
yeah, it's lowering the cost of acquiring a new client for our franchisees.
Well, Ryan, are there any other points you'd like to share on joining the exciting world of home-based franchising?
Man, I just think like if that's on your heart and you've just been kicking the can for 5, 10 years, you don't want to look back and say, I wish I did. Franchising is really cool because it's transparent. You can see the item 19, you can see an FDD. The risk is lower. So if that's something that's on your heart and feel like something that you need to do, I'd absolutely at least pursue it. Start going down that path. Feel free to reach out to our team at Evive Brands. We've got 4 awesome brands at the moment that could all be good fits for you, depending on what you're trying to do. That's evivebrands.com, and we'd be more than happy to help anyone uncover to see if that's a potential for them.
Well, Ryan, my one podcast audience question: what is one thing a podcast listener should do tomorrow morning to learn how to get started in franchising?
Shoot, that's a tough one. There's so many
Come on, give
resources.
us a good
You know
one.
what? I got one for you. Go out and read the book, The Wealthy Franchisee. Go buy it. It's Scott Greenberg, fantastic book. He spoke at the Brothers Conference this year. He really summed it up. He was a successful franchisee. Now he's a renowned speaker, and he really, really hammers what it's like to be a franchisee and how to be a successful, wealthy franchisee. So I would start there.
All right, what's the name of that book?
The Wealthy Franchisee by Scott Greenberg.
That's what we all want to do, get wealthy in franchising. So appropriately named. Well, Ryan Parsons, we've reached the end of our franchising journey here on the Home Business Podcast. Are there any other points you'd like to share?
Nope, just thank you so much for the opportunity, and love to see people find success in franchising.
Ryan Parsons, thank you for joining us today on the Home Business Podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
To learn more about Ryan Parsons and his company, Evive Brands, please visit evivebrands.com or our podcast website for more information on guests. Thanks for joining us today on this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at our website, homebusinessmag.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or thehomebusinessexpo.com. I'm Richard Kamenerson saying anchors away. We'll talk with you soon. Until then, make it a great home-based franchisor day. Thank you for watching Home Business TV.